Hi, welcome to the Black Pill. Today's topic: what can you, as a college professor, do when your lessons exacerbate students' trauma? Because we try and reach the widest possible array of people here, right? Uh, this is not just for college professors, it's a reflection, though. The question comes from a workshop today. I wasn't leading the workshop, and I didn't feel like it was my place necessarily to step too far forward and sort of mansplain this. But the person asking said, I'm not a trained therapist. Here's the question. And the person replying also is not a trained therapist. I am a trained therapist, right? So I have some opinions, some opinions. I'll put these here, and if they're helpful, pick them up, and if they're not, don't. Part of the official answer was that student psychological services suck, and that is true. There's like two people, and they have like 10,000 students who go to the three campuses around here, and they're trained necessarily in short-term, quick turn interventions, which they have to be mostly referrals to other people. There's just no way to keep up with the load. So that's all absolutely true. And the rest of the answer was that trauma-informed instruction is a whole thing of its own. And it absolutely is a whole thing of its own. It's not a real useful answer. Sometimes that's what's true, though. Sometimes there's nothing you individually can do. Or it would take a whole year to get you qualified to sort of help with this problem. But I think there's something I can say that might be helpful. It doesn't solve any problems. No easy answers. It's more like a series of additional questions. But if we think about these questions, we can start to become the kind of person people are okay being traumatized with. They're okay sitting with while in that discomfort or going into discomfort because it's safe. I also have a friend out there contemplating questions of safety, and this might be grist for their peculiar mill, which I've heard grinds exceeding fine. So here, have you done your own work? Are you doing it? Are you doing your own work? I mean, have you struggled with your addictions, with your depression or anxiety? And I mean, have you thought about the moral and ethical systems you learned when you were young and whether they're still useful or appropriate given how far society has advanced since those old days? And I mean, have you worked on your biases? Sexism, racism, cultureism, religionism, nationalism. Have you worked on how you think and feel about other people, othered people, but also about the isms you've internalized about yourself? Good start. Excellent start. It isn't important you've been through exactly what your clients are going through. It is important that you have gone through something. Empathy comes from there. You're more likely to listen and hear and less likely to deny and invalidate. Okay, next then, are you safe to talk to? Do you show too much affect or maybe too little? Do you give too much advice? Argue? Are you defensive? Because when people are feeling that individual or generational trauma because the material is just too close to their experiences, are you someone that they can address it with or even just feel it with? Do you know how to cry? In your classes, can you cry in your lectures and be okay? Can you be angry at, for example, the injustices of history and express that anger in a useful way, a non-abusive way? Do you have a full and appropriate range of affect? If not, you're unpredictable. People don't know what you care about, and they don't know what you feel, and anything might secretly offend you. You're not safe. You're not safe. You're not modeling safety. You're not showing other people how to be angry in a productive and socially sanctioned and non-threatening fashion. You're not showing people how to experience the inevitable grief that accompanies knowledge, real knowledge, and also go about the work that needs to be done. And those feelings that we have together are themselves important. Carl Whitaker used to say, affect lubricates process. And if we're talking about the injustices of history, but we're doing it in a flat, affectless, deadpan, then it's clear that I don't care who suffered under slavery. I only care that you know what year this president was elected after the slave thing, so you can answer it on the quiz and move on with your life. No, slaves, the idea of slaves pisses me off. Right? I feel grief about some of the events of our nation's history, even, to use the popular modern oxymoron, modern history. Are you safe to talk to? Are we having a conversation about this that isn't just facts and reason, but also values and trust? Is there room for outsider knowledge in your classroom? If a student has experience, are they able to enlarge a topic without repercussions? Are you okay with the fact that you don't know everything? So when someone who has been othered, historically or immediately, has a story that changes the understanding of a fact or event, are we able to hear that, or do we need to silence that? People have trauma, right? Generational trauma. Slavery for some people was like 3 or 4 generations ago, The first real American war on drugs, reefer madness and locking up Mexicans and saying that they're doing the R word with women, and smoking marijuana and getting high and doing crime and all that stuff. That was only 100 years ago. It was only 100 years ago. If no one has ever, when was the Zoot Suit riots? Was that the 40s? Like, this stuff is, I know Americans, an English person thinks 100 miles is a long way. An American thinks 100 years is a long time. Like, dude, no, 100 years, it's just a few generations, and we still have all of that, right? We still have all of that pain with us. And if no one's ever confessed their pain to you, their trauma to you, the college professor, it's not because I'm wrong. It's because you're not safe. You're not safe to express difficult feelings with, and you have work to do more. There's an old Lovecraft story about necromancy, the mysterious case of Charles Dexter Ward. I think I might be off by a word or two. And one of the elder wizards in this story writes a letter to Dexter Ward, and in the letter he says, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, I think, he says, never bring up something you can't put back down. Never raise an entity more powerful than yourself. And that's what happens in the story, spoiler alert for a 100 years old racist story, I guess. But Charles Dexter Ward raises an ancestor who's a better necromancer than him. And the ancestor impersonates him and takes over his life, right? So that's fine advice. In necromancy and in therapy and in classroom events, that's good advice. Never bring up something you can't put back down. Okay? In our first years of therapy training, therapists often try to get their first clients to cry. Like you're winning. If you come into group supervision at the end of the day and you made a client cry, you're winning. You're mastering the principles, and you're the power, and whatever. And like you get your first client to cry and usually have no idea what you're supposed to do next. You worked so hard to get to a point where the client would do real work and get to the issue and cry about it. And like now they're crying, you have no idea what to do. You brought up something and you lack the experience to deal with it in the room as it's happening, So don't provoke trauma. You're not winning if your students are freaking out about how horrible psychology has been to people of color and women and so on. You don't provoke, but tell the truth. The truth is hard, and the truth is our job, and it's our job to tell hard truths, but it's not our job to like ram people's faces in it and make sure they smell it. And get good. Yeah, man. Get good at sitting with the consequences of telling people the truth. People are going to be pissed off sometimes, and people are going to be hurt sometimes, and but before you are good, just try not to bring up anything you can't put back down. This has been the Black Pill, and I hope this little talk has been useful for more than just college professors out there who haven't had their trauma-informed instruction training. Okay, bye.